right, you guys, podcast time.
Chew. It's quieter.
Fucking podcasting right now.
Chew quieter.
And now, to the podcast studio.
Welcome back, everyone, to Chew Quieter. I am Gabe Mercado. We have Armando Verdugo. Chris Meehan is with us, and today our special guest is Brian Williams from CMM Offroad. How are you, sir?
Good, guys. How y'all doing?
Good.
Brian, good to see you.
Good to see you. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last time I saw you, I was up at your place in Cumberland Furnace.
Yep.
And did a little project for you. Checked out the shop. Met your fur babies.
Oh yes.
Your other animals on the farm and
the bigger fur babies. Yes. So,
yeah.
Yep.
It's a cool spot.
Thank you.
I think that's one reason why everyone wants to move to the country is for what you have there. It's just perfect.
I'm kind of back home. I grew up and born and raised on a farm in Indiana, so it's just kind of coming full circle. So we got very fortunate and found this piece of property, and my brother and sister-in-law live on this property as well, and Jill's mom and dad live on this property too. So everybody's all together. So it makes it pretty nice. So yep.
You got your driveway paved yet, Brian?
No, we've just changed it. It's since when you were first here, that was the old one, and now we've bought an adjacent property. It's right beside us, and it had a much more better driveway. So we've done a little landscaping and got tied together with it, but we're in the process of doing some other stuff that way too. But yeah.
So do you think I can get the AMG in there, or I still need to bring the Jeep?
No, you should be all right. So I think it's Jill's doing this on purpose so I can't buy a Z06 Corvette is what she's doing. So it's because I'm going to have a fun car, I'm going to definitely have to do some work. So, but we got Jeeps. That's what we're in the business for. So that's what we do. So
yeah.
Right.
Yes.
So speaking of in the business, right?
Yeah. Right. Yes. No. I'm past all that. So yeah.
For anyone that has just had their head in the sand for the last 10 years, right? A little over 10 years.
15 now, almost. Yeah. Crazy. Yeah. Almost.
CMM, tell everyone what CMM Offroad is.
CMM Offroad. So we'll start at the beginning. So CMM is a shortened version of Carolina Metal Masters. When we started this, we were in North Carolina. We were still fresh out of motorsport on that side, myself and a friend, and we started a CNC shop where we were manufacturing parts for various race teams on the Cup side. And then it kind of grew and went on from there, and always had a love for Jeeps and started making Jeep parts, and started off originally with a tie rod and a drag link, a fair lead. And then we branched out a little bit, did a grab bar for the JKs for the passenger side and the TJs, custom machine any name or whatever you want in it. And then it just grew. So we try to stay on our own lane and do our own kind of thing. And we've got a bunch of CNCs here and just go out and whittle on aluminum and see what we can come up with. So
nice. Yeah. One of your products is my favorite. It's the rear seat delete.
Oh yeah. For the, excuse me, for the JLJT. It's became a necessary type piece, to an extent when we were doing the overland side of things, and we still do on occasion. It's not quite as prominent as it was, and with the last year or so, but we didn't need the rear seat. It just takes up a lot of space. I wish Jeep would have done that back seat the way they did the one for like the Dodge 2500, 3500, where the bottom folds up forward and the top or the back folds down. So you got a big flat area, but instead it's bottom folds up for storage underneath and top folds down, and you just waste a lot of space. So we shucked that thing out of there and started doing some aluminum work. And then we've got a 60-40 split piece that works just like the seat. You can use either half with either other half of the seat, or you can use the whole thing all together. And overall, I think we end up losing like 38 pounds or 39 pounds, I think. And we gained like 21 feet of space. So it gained a huge amount of space. And if you want to go back to the seat, it's just pop 4 bolts out and pull it out and throw the seat back in, throw 4 bolts back in it, and away you go. So
that's the brilliance of it. And I say that because back in 2012, when I had my JK, I never used the back seat. So I thought to myself, what can I do with this back seat? I always have it down, but it's still in the way. It's bulky. Yeah. So I ditched it and I built my own version of your rear seat delete. It had little cubby holes on each side, and it was level with the rear deck of the JK. It was a 4-door. So when I saw yours, I was like, this is perfect. I think we even talked about this when I was at your shop. I was like, this is perfect. This is what I kind of envisioned in my mind when I was tinkering in the garage with particle board.
Right. No, that works. It's perfect. It works. It works too. So it's trying to make these things like this cost effective. Like cost effective in the real world is not the easiest thing to do. It's just there's a lot of machine time. Aluminum's going up day by day right now, of course, as the market reacts too fast to everything that's going on. We've got several out there. It's not start to say quite a few. It's really not quite a few. We've got a handful, probably a little less than 10 total. I got some guys using one half and another guy using another half and vice versa. But we've got a fair bit of them out, and they love them for what they are. It does become it's for a upwardly mobile couple, type thing to have and it's a perfect spot to have the dogs. And we've got small dogs. I did do one that was really, really low. That was a full all the way across, just barely above floor height, because he did some overland stuff with us. He's got a Great Dane. So the Dane just literally walks up and walks right into the back of the Jeep, and he had a custom bed made for it and just lays there. And he can still have storage underneath. And when the dog's out, you can still flip both of them up and still get to your storage underneath and get to everything. So it works out pretty good. But that's getting into more of the custom side of the world, which is not a problem. It's just it can get cost ineffective rapidly.
Right.
Depends on what you want to do. But people come to us with ideas all the time, and it's fun to see where we can get with them. So,
well, I think the best part about it is it's really easy to install. I mean, it's
super easy, super
really
easy. 4 bolts out literally with an impact. That weird 6-point male 6-point bolt that Jeep puts in that thing, or that piece, pop those things out and throw our part right back in it, and away you go. So, yep. So it works out pretty good. So, and we've done those at different heights as well too. So same as like our bed rack, it's a similar piece. It's all machine billet, and we could have went farther to take out even more weight. When we started doing the overland stuff, started looking at the weight of cars, and they're coming out of motorsport stuff. Of course, it's the same thing. It's all about the weight. So if you're running around and in comparison, if we're the Gladiator, diesel Gladiator, where he's dead stock, full of fuel, whatever that number is, and once you start adding heavier control arms, heavier this, heavier that, air compressors, stuff that I just keep adding, you end up with a very heavy vehicle very rapidly. So we did what we could on that bed rack to do the same thing. And all the ones that we've made of those have been very specific to what the customer wants. So, when you take a steel rack, stamped steel rack, and that's just built for kind of a universal fit type thing, and use that, and we're less than a quarter of the weight of one of those, gives you a lot more room to carry more stuff. I know a lot of guys are using a 5-inch lift or a 6-inch lift spring in the rear, and they've got so much weight, it's sacking the thing out down to the point where it's back to ride height. And we're just running standard on ours right now, rock crawler 3.5s, and we're still right there within realm. So, yep. So
is that your
super
first?
light.
Is that your first inclination when you're building things? Is weight?
From all the previous stuff, it is, yes. Like the very first thing we looked at was weight. I know this is going way back, but years ago on the Indy Car side, it was like a 6-figure thing to move or lose like a pound. So, and I know watching like the Netflix Formula One deal, they're way beyond that now. It's ridiculous now what they're spending. And when you have fluid money that is whatever you want, it makes it easy, but it's not so easy when you try to take that to the masses. It's not exactly cost effective, and it's not the way to necessarily go, but it's fun to make those toys like that. So we got the rest of our line of all the parts that are the standard everyday, everything, the utilitarian stuff that we make, all the mirrors and the handles and the accessory mounts and all that stuff that carries through. And these are just fun to make. And it's a good mind trigger because it kind of hits you and you're like, oh yeah, let's take a look. Let's see if we can do that. And then sit down and start drawing. And next thing you know, here we are. So, but yeah.
Let's go back to 2010 really quick.
Yeah, sure.
And only bring this up because you brought up F1, and you were part of the US F1 team, or
yes,
I don't know if you would say part of the team, because it was it? I don't know if it was an official team, was it?
It never it never really got off the ground. I know at some point there'll be a documentary. Probably, somebody's eventually going to come around and ask questions on that thing. That's a long, crazy story. I was at Waltrip at the time, running Michael CNC stuff on the Cup side, run that shop, and the reason I had moved originally to North Carolina at the very beginning was an IRL manufacturer deal called Falcon. That was Michael Cranifus, who was the father of Ford Motorsport, father of SVO and everything else. He and another guy had gotten together and started the piece for Falcon. And I had worked with that other guy in previous years in Indy Car, clear back at Ganassi years and years ago. But it hit the ground extremely hard and did not continue. And then he called and it's like, yeah, you know what? Let's see. So I always wanted to go play around Formula One cars and see what we could come up with. And it never really got anywhere. But I ran the CNC shop there. Same as kind of like we have here. It was all tied to Haas. I've known Gene for years and years at Pac West years ago. When we first got, this was like 97, 98, somewhere in there. The team manager came to me and was like, hey, we need to get CNC machines. And I was on the test team and worked in the machine shop and did stuff there, whatever needed done. But he said, we need to get some CNCs. What do you think? And at the time, it's like, well, this Haas stuff is looking pretty good. So we got Haas, got a hold of him, and Gene would come around. And he'd walk up and he's like, why are you doing this? Why are you doing it this way? And because he's a machinist, that side of him is. And he just has grown to exponential lengths since then. So, but there we had Haas. When I was at Robbie Gordon, Robbie had Haas there as well. We got Haas stuff at Waltrip. And then the USF1 thing was Haas as well, too. So, and that's all I have here in the shop, too, for that matter. So it's a good machine. There's reasons for pluses or minuses from Mazaks all the way down to the cheapest thing that's made out there that's out. But this is a good universal machine. They're easy to use. You know what their weaknesses and their strengths are, and we capitalize that. So,
was Haas a sponsor for that F1 team, or was he part of the money team?
He was part of what we got the machines. That's kind of what we were tied to on that. When it all did kind of come to an end, I know they did get a hold of him, and at that point it was too far for him to do anything with. So when they went to do their own, they did their own, of course, however many years later that was.
It was about 5 years after that, probably.
Yeah. And there's Formula One's different than any other form of motorsport in a sense. There is F2 and F3 and E and all that other stuff now too, but within F1, there's 3 or 4 different tiers within that group. There's if you watch that show on Netflix, you'll see it. There's teams that they're like, well, this year we would like to finish, in the top 15, and that's as good as they know they're ever going to get, because they're never going to go against McLaren, Ferrari, or Mercedes, or Ferrari, that kind of thing. They're just not going to get there. So it definitely is tiered without a doubt, and it's. The big boys go play with big toys and big money. So It's interesting, but yeah.
Yeah, Chris and I are F1 fans. I think I'm a bigger fan of F1 than Chris is. He won't admit it, but...
You know what?
Who's your driver, Gabe?
Max.
Yeah. Yeah, Chris?
Me? I don't know.
Well, there's only 2 Aussie drivers now.
Well, the Aussie drivers suck.
Hey man,
Oscar's pretty solid.
Scott Dixon at Pac West, he was one of those. He's great, phenomenal. He was such a good dude. So
yeah, Oscar's not too bad. I think he's given him a couple more years. He might come up into it.
This is Liam Lawson's rookie season, so I'm interested to see how he does.
I'm liking Lando.
I love Lando. I think he's a great driver. He's my second favorite driver.
Too. Yeah, he's good too. He's definitely good too. So it's weird. There's not. There's a change in the guard, and everything changes. Nothing's constant.
Yeah, it was like when Damon Hill used to race, it was all flat out, and then when he left, it got boring. It was Damon Hill's not there anymore. He's not racing Schumacher anymore.
Yeah.
So it's the same with this industry. It comes in waves.
Yep.
People move on.
Yep.
And then the new people walk in, just like we have right now with all the damn ducks. They'll
Yeah.
eventually windle off down the road somewhere, just like everybody else.
Are they still
Armando
ducking?
likes the ducks.
I
Wait,
swear
are
what
they-
I want to do is I want to make like a net that goes all the way across and take like 2 paper towel tubes and mount it, like a little billet bracket, and you can just fill the front wheels. You go completely with ducks, and then you drive by just looking through the paper towel tubes right at the windscreen, So that's what it needs to be. Just fill it. Fill the thing completely full. If you're going to do it, go for it and do the whole thing. So, but
Up Periscope. Down
Jill will
Periscope.
not let me do those kind of things, which is probably good. So it keeps people from coming and trying to burn down the shop.
All you need to do is just glue them to the windows so you can't see them, and then wrap the Jeep in ducks, and you'll be doing the same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll
But
work.
did you see the Christmas light ducks?
I
Are
did
they
not.
still
they
doing duck
still-
things?
No, so you didn't see what they did. So they got the little Christmas lights that they're like the one where the bulb goes out, and then you got to find the missing bulb for the lights
Yeah.
to use.
Yes.
Well, they drilled the bottom of the duck out just enough that you could fit the duck on there, and it would glow.
Oh my goodness.
Oh my.
So I'm just like,
Yeah.
how much more gayer do you need to get?
I'm not going there with that, but I never really understood the duck thing. But the true story behind it, the lady that actually started it, just doing it, was pretty cool. We learned that last year when we were at that show in Missouri. And I think she must have been, I'm probably wrong, but I think she was semi-local somewhere around there. A lot of people knew her.
I thought
She was just a
from
nice
Canada.
lady. So
Yeah, I thought she was from Canada, too.
Okay, never mind. Was not. So, yeah. So, gotcha.
I mean, we could have got bad information, Chris. Who knows?
Well, hey,
You never know.
at this day and age, you could be anybody. So you could just make it up and you be that person. So
No,
not
we're not.
true,
We're not
so-
a woke country anymore. You can't do that anymore.
true. But there's nothing saying that you just can't. Who's going to prove who started the duck thing? How can you prove that?
I don't know.
That's a good
Don't
question.
know.
You know what I mean?
Don't know. Well, there's no
I'll put
such thing
my
as
hand
photo
up for it.
records anymore because you can photo me into being on the moon right now or anywhere else. You know what I mean? You can do whatever you want. So, but yeah. So I don't know.
Next
Do you guys
podcast,
remember- I
I'm
don't-
going to be in Utah. So
I don't know if Chris experienced this in Australia, but Brian, you might be old enough to remember this when your teachers would come back from the copy room with ditto paper.
Yeah, ditto machine.
And they would be high as fuck because of the fumes from that ditto paper.
running the ditto machine. Yeah, and then you could steal just like what was it, Animal House? Yeah, steal the copy from the test, and you get all the answers from the test off the ditto machine from doing the ditto on the test. Yeah,
hang on, was
yeah,
that the
yeah.
one that used to go like really fast? And you
it's
can
more
No,
like
it was a
just-
drum.
It was a drum. It's like, and they stood there and cranked it by hand. So this shows our age.
Holy
Yeah.
shit,
So,
you two are
yeah.
fucking old.
54 this year. Is that right? Yeah. 54 this year.
How do you
So,
not
yeah.
remember that, Armando? You're that age.
Oh, I remember it.
Oh, you do?
Armando's 41. What are you talking about?
Fucking is not.
Yep. Yep.
I'm the oldest in the.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest in the room here.
Well. Yeah.
Actually, hang on. How old are you, Gabe? No, you are.
I'll be 48 in a few months.
Yeah,
Oh.
you are the youngest by a couple of months.
Yeah.
There you go.
Asshole. I was so close.
It
Kids
doesn't
did
matter.
not ever
It does-
feel like it.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. It doesn't matter. I mean, look at how many times I've sprained knees and ankles just on the trail recording shit. I mean,
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
fucking age just
Yeah,
creeps
I
up
live-
and
so-
hits you with the bat.
I lifted up one of my tires the other day for the Mercedes on the lift,
Ooh.
and I'm pretty sure gave myself a hernia in my stomach.
And we're talking Mercedes tire, not a 42 or
No.
anything crazy. A B-lock.
Not a 39 beadlock. Yeah.
Nope.
Not a
I
39
watch these-
airliner.
Yeah, so I watch the guys at the shop, and they lift these 37s up in the air, and all. I said, "Dude, ask for help." They're like, "I got it." I said, "You know what? When you get to my age, you'd be like, man, I wish I asked for help."
Yeah.
Enjoy
Young-
that
young
third frog
ones.
eye.
Yeah.
Yes. That's awesome. Awesome. So,
Oh god.
Let's get back to the racing
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So you were doing Indy and NASCAR before you started to
Yeah.
the
So-
Formula One team?
just to jump back real quick, and this question gets asked a lot, so maybe this will answer it around the pipe because the word gets out and then crazy stories get made up and then you never know what you hear, right? So I was a farm kid in Indiana, thought I was going to pursue a good military career. And just before, I think my dad kind of got cold feet, and he started pushing me. He's like, I don't think you want to do it. I don't think you want to do it. And then ended up going to Vincennes, Indiana, down for the aviation program and got my A&P license, and never ended up using it. Ended up one of the guys I went to school with, one of my best friends in school during that time, he was on a plane going to get a job interview with like Delta or somebody, and the guys from whatchamacallit, from one of the Indy Car teams out of Indianapolis was flying, and he talked to him and said that actually Dick Simon's guys on the Amway side, they were flying, and he said something, hey, here's a resume. And they gave that resume of his to Tom Anderson, which was like Anderson Fernandez now, but Tom Anderson was the team manager like back in the days of Patrick in the late 80s, and then early 90s. He went with Chip Ganassi onto that side and was a team manager at Ganassi. Handed him that. He called John. John went in, got a job, calls me, goes, hey, man, guess where I'm working? Where? I'm at Chip Ganassi. I'm IndyCar. I'm like, okay. I used to go to the Indy 500 when I was a kid, but I was into drag racing then. I wanted to go and drag race and be on that side of it or do something, on that level. And so I was like, oh, cool. Well, if they need anybody else, let me know. Well, he calls me the next day. He goes, hey, man, I don't know what you're doing, but get over here because they need other guys. And you got an A&P and you're good. You're good. You know what I mean? That gives you which is airframe and power plant license, so you can work on aircraft. That's a whole other story now. But anyway, got over there, got hired on the spot, ended up on the gearbox side. That was 91 and 92 there. At that time, Eddie Cheever was driving for us. And then at the speedways, we had Ari Leindyke driving for us as well. And then we had a road course deal when we got that Ford Cosworth XB with none other than Robbie Gordon. So Robbie's basically a year older than I am. That's where I got to know him. That's we doing tests together, doing all kinds of other stuff. I was on the test team and did this and that and blah, 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 and all that stuff. Got to know each other. And then some time goes on. Ganassi, and like all race teams do, something happens. They end up cutting people loose, doing whatever. Ended up at Bud King, then working for Kenny Bernstein on an IndyCar deal. The crew chief that was at Ganassi ended up going there, got a hold of him and vice versa. He called me actually and said, hey, we need guys for the deal here, so come on. So ended up there, was there for about a year and a half, had enough of Bernstein. That's a whole other story. And then went on and was at Tony Bentonhausen's for a short bit, and then ended up at Pac West. And there we had Mauricio Guzman, Mark Blundell. That's a picture. It's up here, right here. Looks like Michigan, I think it was, in probably 97, 98, something like that. But was there. That's where we got the Haas stuff, everything else. The guy that was the engineer at Ganassi originally then called me, was down in North Carolina and going to start an IRL deal with Falcon with Michael Kranifus. And went down there to do that. It went belly up. Michael knew Robbie from all the years of Robbie being tied to Ford. And then he came by the shop one day and he goes, hey, holy shit, what are you doing, dude? And I was like, well, nothing right now. I'm loose. He goes, come to the shop, man. We got tons of stuff to do. I got 2 Haas machines, and we got stuff to make for a trophy truck to be able to run. And that would have been in 2000. When would that have been? 2003. Is that right? Yeah, somewhere along in there. And so went over, spent the summer building parts for the trophy truck, working with the Anaheim shop back and forth, went out, did all that stuff, worked for Robbie for a bunch of years till 2008. And had enough. We've known each other long enough, kind of like brothers, and eventually you got to go roll around the backyard and beat the shit out of each other and then be, all right, that's it. Just got to take a time out for a minute. So, but I still love Robbie like a brother. He's a good dude. He's just, Robbie's Robbie. So, but left there, and then the phone rang. Michael Waltrip called and said, hey, man, I want you to come. We're going to the Cup side for real. I want you to come up here and start the CNC shop up here. And so I went up there. And then that was up off like 28, exit 28 in Cornelius up there. Went up there, set up that whole CNC shop, got it all running, was there until 2009 when I got the call from that other guy. Ended up going back on the F1 side because I thought, man, we're going to try it. And it was pretty cool. This is one of those aha moments that you'll remember. And I've said this a bunch of times, and it's a great piece. But I had a conversation with the team manager, and I said, "Hey, I need to have a conversation with you guys." And he's like, "Whoa, this doesn't sound good." And I said, "No," I said, "Let's just get Michael and Ty Norris together. Let's have a conversation." So that afternoon, Michael comes upstairs and sit down. I said, "Hey, so I got an opportunity to go." And right as the words were coming out of my mouth, the team manager's like, "Whoa, hang on, no, you can't go. How much? What do you want? What's your number?" I was like, "Come on, dude. If you're telling me you should have been paying me more, I mean, it's not about the money." So here's where I'm at. And Michael goes, hold on. And Ty was freaking out. Ty was like, "Who's going to run the shop? What are we going to do? What are we going to do?" Michael goes, hang on. Here's the deal. And he looked at me dead square in the eye. He goes, "Here's the thing, man. I have taken a lot of chances in my life and done a lot of cool things. And you know you can do it. Just go do it. If you need anything ever, you call me." I said, "All right." So off I went. And when it ended, and he still hits me up every now and then. There'll be times, it's usually a Sunday morning when he's getting ready to announce a race or something. There'll be somewhere. And he's like, "Hey, B-Dub, what are you up to?" On a text. "I'm all good, man. How you doing? Hope everything's good." That kind of thing. And that was great advice. And he's been there and done it. And you got to take a chance and you got to go see what you can do. But that thing failed, and I was like, "All right, that's it. I'm done." And that's when we decided to start this. And we'd say we originally started, we were building parts for Hendrick and for Roush and for anybody, any of the Cup teams that were down there, just random anything, whatever it was they needed, and whatever the print was, we just make it. And then I started with a guy that was an old racer dude, and he was kind of wanting to sit out front and see what came in the door, and I was wanting to go chase stuff. So we decided to part ways, got all that sorted out. Everybody was happy and good and done, parted ways, and then we just started making Jeep parts, and here we are. So all that in a nutshell, that's the timeline behind it. So I wouldn't not do what I did. I got very lucky. I got very, very lucky to be in the places I got to be in and do the things I got to do. Traveled all over the world, doing everything, racing everywhere and doing everything you can think of. And it was great. But in some ways, probably cost me a marriage along the way. My son works here now, which is good. My daughter is still up in St. Louis, and she's awesome, happy as a clam. Everything's good, but it definitely I wouldn't be with Jill now if it hadn't have ever happened. Met her in Charlotte, so everything happens for a reason. But very fortunate to have done the things I got to do. So we just try to take that same mentality now and transmit it to what we're building here now. The parts that we build, the things that we do, try to take that level of what it is and put it into this. No shortcuts, no cheap outs, no this, no that. You were talking about the rack and stuff earlier, like the bed rack itself. I think the bolt list for that full bed rack is like, I want to say it's like $1,300 just for hardware. But it's all 304 stainless. And like I always tell people when we're talking about it, you don't walk up to a yacht and see rust streaks. Mm-hmm. So you're never going to see rust streaks on this stuff. It doesn't fit the purpose of what this is. And you don't need a half 13 carriage bolt in something when a 832 will do. So just to make it convenient for all the bolts in the whole package are the same. So it's just a different mentality. It's not right. It's not wrong. It's just different. So, but, yep.
So I got one more race question, and it's just because the name is infamous in racing world. Joe Gibbs. Oh, yeah. Did you guys have a partnership with him, or did you have to use his facility?
So that was kind of a weird one. So if you're familiar where Robbie's shop was at in north of Charlotte, right there where 485 now makes the loop around, that split a business park. And where Joe started the original Cup deal, that building, it was actually called the, I'll think of it here in a second. It's a construction company. It'll come to me here in a minute. But that building was owned by them technically because they were partnered with Joe when they did it. So we would use at Robbie's, we would use that building for pit stop practice because it was in the other side of Business Park. So we would use it. 485 splits it now. You can't even get there. Well, you can take the overpass and cut back around and cut in, but it's not a direct road. But we use that for pit stop practice. And then when Robbie's was done, when I left there and went to Waltrip, and then stuff moved around, and the next thing you know, the Herzog building, there you go, Herzogs. They're the ones that owned it. Kenny had talked to them somehow and ended up getting that building for the USF1 thing. But it was kind of a hallowed ground too. Like you walk in there and you know what started there. And it had that feel too. And unfortunately, it just didn't. The feel itself didn't carry off into USF1 and make it work. And nothing was going to make that work. Like I say, that's a whole other story. But yeah.
So we come
it
full
was
circle.
Joe's.
So we come full circle from racing, and then we go to Jeep, and now you have a product that is race inspired in the shifter.
With the shifter, yeah, and that was a piece. Some guys were using it was a Hurst shifter for like a Challenger, which it's very, very similar. The mounting is very similar, but they were using one of those, and they just like drill and put a set screw in it so it couldn't travel as far as it should to be able to go into park, and did some stuff. And Will at Savvy hit me up, and we've known each other for a long time. He hit me up. He goes, "Dude, this is like right up your alley, and like, what do you think?" And I said, "Well, let me get one of those shifters, and I'll take a look at it." So I got one, and I realized that if we made that shifter, we could make it for like pennies, because there's nothing to it. It's simple as simple could get. It just wasn't, to me, it wasn't us. So I was like, well, let's see what they're doing. Took the Jeep apart, measured all the travels out of the shaft and the plunger that goes down in and then releases and does all the other stuff, and reverse engineered everything back and started. I basically drew that other one. It was like, this isn't going to do any good. I'm just going to start from scratch. So I started with when you pull your shifter off of your JL, that little shaft that sticks up with the pin that's inside of it, that does the actuation. We started with that. I started with that drawing, and since you have your wall right behind you right there, I started with that, and I started with a 3D model that I drew of a new, SIG pistol grip, more or less module, and realized that when I drew and had all that up, that's fine, because with a pistol, you're all the way out here. Well, shifter can't get up that high, but you're clear down here. So your angles are completely different. So I had that drawn, kept scrubbing around back and forth, and then, nixed the whole thing, and then just drew what we have now. So a nice, comfortable, easy grip feel piece. And with inside of it, there's a mechanism that we machine, like say, everything we do here in house. But there's a mechanism inside there that limits the travel of the release lever that you pull with your finger, just like the factory one, but it limits that release. So it basically will go from drive through neutral into reverse. That's the DNR, drive, neutral, reverse, or standard. And then you've got to squeeze it to get from neutral, reverse, and then squeeze it farther to get into park. And there we have it. So that was it. But it was a little project. It was a good one. That's one of probably the more complicated. Our door handles for the JK are kind of complicated in a sense. We changed that motion ratio from being your thumb pushing the button to a little lever inside there to squeeze. And that was fairly easy. This one was a good complex piece, and we're making them in a 5-axis machine. We're making them as fast as we can make them. So they're going out the door right now. So they're doing pretty good. So
yeah, I think Will got the idea when he lost my shifter back in Utah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I'll never let him forget it either. I'm pretty sure Jenna lost it. It wasn't Will.
And Chris, you could actually use one of those, because you almost ran over Adam in Moab, thinking you were in drive and you were in reverse, trying to go up an obstacle, and almost crushed him. Well,
don't worry, I've been looking at it. Don't worry, I've been looking at it. But we come back to the want and then the necessities.
Yes, the need.
Yeah. Yes.
The need. So, but like I said, Offroad and Chill, we were talking about this a little bit ago before we got on, but Offroad and Chill he's been putting up couple videos this last week where he had the thing in a bad spot, and it was just left rear is dropping into a hole and it's standing up, and then you can physically do it yourself if you can hold it at exactly the right point. But when you're panicked, you're going to accidentally get park, and park is really going to be bad, because when you stop, and then you're locked up and you're done. And Sergio raced it at King of Hammers in a rock crawler in that car, in that 2-door, and used it a bunch and was super happy with it, and it worked. So there was one point where they were trying to make a little bit of time, and they got out to do a little winch operation, and Justin jumped back in, and Sergio was like, "Hey, I'm going to start moving." He goes, "All right, I'm good." And then, of course, he hit something good, and then Justin bumped into it. Next thing, Sergio's like, we're going backwards. Shit. And then pulled it back into drive, because Justin bumped it because he was still jumping around trying to get himself into the seat. But yes, as long as you're bolted in properly, it should work fine. But yes, it's kind of funny.
So you've made one for the JK now too, haven't you?
Yes. Yeah. And it's It's an external, like we did everything since the JK does not have a lever in it for the release. It's just the gated piece. The JL one that did it all inside the shifter, the JK one is an external, and there's basically a pin. It's detinted to where it's got a twist knob on the top, and you can push the thing down or pull it up, and it basically keeps you from going past reverse and keeps you mechanically from doing it. And I did take that entire shifter apart, what would it be, the 12 to 18s.
Mm-hmm.
I took it completely out of the car, took it completely apart, and I could have done it internally. Could have made a piece internal to do it, but that takes the install from a easy nothing one where you just basically pop the plastic off the bottom and pull the shifter off and loosen our bolts and slide it on and tighten 4 bolts. It takes it from doing that to virtually taking your console out, taking the shifter completely out, disassembling the entire shifter with some parts that are one-time use, a little like a shaft pin that's got the grab on, and then you break it off, and then you got to put a new one on it. Taking that thing apart, taking the whole thing apart completely, putting in new modified pieces, and then going back together. So it just is like, this is just going to be, I can see you trying to talk people through this on the phone and do this, and it's just not. It's not going to be an easy afternoon, easy fix. So let's just do it external, and it just works. That way it just works.
Does your shifter still have the gear changes on it? Like the electronic gear changes?
Yes, if you want to go down to the bottom and bang the thing back and forth, it'll still do it. And if no matter what you're doing, if you get in trouble, just shove the thing up and to the right, and it goes all the way up and hits, and it won't pop out. So, but yes, you can still use it on either way, for that matter. So, if you would happen to be on the JL, if you would happen to be trying to downshift at the time, because that does have a tiny little gate right there, you're going to have to let a little bit of a release to get the thing to slam forward, but it naturally wants to go back to neutral anyway. So as long as you don't have pressure on it, it goes back to the center, and then you can just slam it forward. So, yep. So
very good.
So earlier we were talking about kind of our age and transitioning away from rock crawling and kind of going more towards the overlanding route, just because it's a lot easier on our bodies. We're at ages now where we're appreciating scenery more and more.
Absolutely.
And we're also at the age where the camaraderie with our friends is increased exponentially just because of our age.
Yes.
And we had talked about differences, sleeping accommodations differences. You know, and I mentioned that I like the hammock.
Yeah.
Armando, he's short enough where he can just sleep in the back seat of a truck.
I know, we've done that. Well, not we. Go, hang on. I was in his vehicle.
Hey, we weren't supposed to talk about that. We weren't supposed to talk about that.
Our vehicle's right beside Armando's. He was sleeping in the back seat of his truck. Yes, that's funny. Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
We have mutual friends that also have been out, and we talked about that also on the Rubicon. I don't know if actually, I don't think Tim would mind, but so I'll just say Tim. Tim is the guy that we were out there with, and that's a guy that he's on my wish list to get on the podcast just because he's Tim. The other reason is because me and him could probably talk about weed for fucking hours.
Probably. Start to say you're never gonna know who you're talking about. Just say Tim. Yeah. Love Tim. Yeah. So.
Yeah, that guy's cool. Cool as fuck. But I bring this up because, I talked about the wildlife, and Will from Savvy was with us on this trip, and he was sleeping in a hammock, and a bear started to rummage through stuff around his Jeep. Yeah. Then 2 days later, we were on Fordyce, and I'm in a hammock, and someone had left out their cooking utensils and didn't clean them.
Yeah.
And I heard metallic rustling, and I see these eyes just glowing because of the flashlight. And I was like, oh, fuck, that's a bear.
Yeah. Yes, it is.
So, despite all that, I think I still prefer the hammock.
Yeah.
Well, just next time, just make sure there's no peanut butter underneath that hammock.
That could help.
It's okay if it's your dog.
Yep. I remember when Chris first got those sleep pod hammocks, and we were in the Rubicon on one of the Crawl Magazine John, one of his rides on one of the Crawlicons. We were out there, and we're all piled together, and they were staying over in the in the campgroundish more area. My brain has fried me tonight. I can't remember
Where the
whatever
old
it's
hotel
called.
is.
Dirty Dozen over there. Yes, the Dirty Dozen side. And we were over underneath the tree right in the corner, right there by the water. And we start hearing ka-ching, 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 ka-ching around. It's like, oh man, it was way late. You know what I mean? It was like 2-3 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, oh man, this is not going to be good. And at the time I was in a tent and wasn't terrible worried about it, but I was in a tent on the ground. And, so Chris was in his AirPod, and Tim was in his AirPod thing. They're hanging there, and he thought maybe Tim was up, and Chris goes, Tim, is that you, Tim? It's quiet for a minute, and I come back, I go, hey, Chris, that bear's name's not Tim. So it wasn't Tim. He was like somewhere, he'd gone over the Dirty Dozen. He'd already got up and done his own thing, but there was one in there. And I guess there's big ones out there. I mean, we've been out there. I've heard bears out there and seen them out there, but I've never had an encounter with one ever. But they're definitely out there, and it's prevalent. I know places that we have done overland stuff with, like Bob and Mary, TNT Customs on that side, the Fort Explorer and stuff. We've been at some extreme elevations, at some extreme cold, and done some really fun, good stuff. But we have seen some wildlife that I'm glad I was in a tent that was on a rack well above, because at least they got to come up to you. You're still a Twinkie and a wrapper, or sandwich
burrito.
wrapped up, a Subway sandwich wrapped up in a paper, a burrito. You're still that, but at least you got a little height on them right there, and you're drive down on them instead of them just coming onto you. So, I could imagine doing the same, like in Alaska or somewhere where a moose walks up and his chin is touching the top of your tent on the top of the rack of the Jeep. You know what I mean? On something that's that big, that's a scary animal. So I don't know what you do there. So haven't been up that far yet.
That's like in Australia, we have, do you know what swag is?
Yeah.
So I've always wondered, when I first came over here, I'm like, man, I've got the best business idea. Why is no Americans got swags here? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm going to have a really good, I can run with this. This is going to be awesome.
Okay, what's a swag?
So a swag is, so it's like a roll-up mattress, but it's got a mattress in it, and it's made of canvas. So it's waterproof, dustproof, and it's got zip in it, and it's like you lay in it, and you've got about this much room above you when you lay there. So it's got like tent poles through it, so it stays open. You can get changed in there. You can do whatever you want in there. Some of them you can king size. You can get 2 people in them. So there's a whole lot of stuff you can do with them. Some even have a veranda like on them, so you can put your shoes out and not get wet, all this kind of stuff. So when I came over here, I'm like, when I started doing the overland shows, I'm like, man, like no one has these swags. So I'm just like, man, this market, like, because the overland has only just really come about in the last 5 years. Like
COVID drove it hard. Yeah.
Like it was there before COVID, but not as heavy than what COVID brought it into fruition. But do you know who 230 is?
Oh yeah. That's what I've had nothing but their tents,
So do you know Justin, who owns 230?
Yes, we met in like Overland Expo a couple of times. He's pretty good friends with Bob. So I got an introduction and
he's Australian, and I met him. It was funny. I've even got the shirt on. That I was with Artec doing a show in Washington State. I was with Will and Nate, and we were sharing a booth together. And I pull up, and there's this massive big awning, a Raptor there, and I can hear someone going, "You fucking bastard," and this and that, and it's like, and I'm like, "Is that guy an Australian?" And I hear him say something else. I'm like, "Hey, dude, are you from Australia?" And he's like, "Yeah, mate, full blown Australian over here, mate." And I'm just like, "You're more Australian than what I am." And
Bonza, mate.
Yep, we got to talking, and he does all the tents and this and that. And I said to him, "Dude, why don't you have the swags over here? And he's like, funny you should say that. I thought about the same thing when I moved here, but we sleep on the ground in Australia because what's the worst thing that's going to happen? A snake?
Snake.
We're in America. Everything in America wants to kill you. Bears, mountain lions, moose, whatever you are.
Yeah.
To a bear, you're a wrapped up taquito. Ready to get... How quickly can you get out of a swag?
For someone that doesn't like Mexican food, he really loves using Mexican food references.
Yeah, because all Americans know that. Or burrito, or,
It's almost like the Hot Pocket, you know, you're the cover is the swag and you're the meat inside. And the bear's like, where's that big microwave? Yeah.
Yeah, you can say egg roll, you know.
Nah, not the same.
Pop-Tart?
Different color.
Same thing.
Egg rolls aren't green.
Tacos aren't green.
Shouldn't be.
Oh, well, yeah, true that.
True.
True that.
Burritos shouldn't be green.
No.
No.
But that was the thing, and I'm just like, damn, well, there goes that business idea. I can't bring that from Australia.
Believe it or not, there's still a lot of people that ground
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
camp.
He sells them.
Yeah.
He still sells them here, but it's
Yeah.
not as big as what it is in Australia. Like, in every off-road vehicle will have a swag in the back.
Yeah.
How big is it rolled up? Like, how much space does it take?
It'll be the size of... Okay, so like a single... Okay, like a mattress this thick.
Mm-hmm.
Am I holding that right? That thick? And you do it like a single mattress that you would put in a cot. Roll that up. That's as big as it gets.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so maybe 15-inch circumference?
Yeah, maybe. So, okay, you know the back of my Jeep?
Yep.
The height I have with my box, where my two air tanks come in? I could roll one up and it'll take up that whole back.
Okay. That's not bad.
It's pretty good.
For like one person camping or something?
Yeah, that was a king size. That was a king size
I
one, so
totally-
you could fit two people in it.
Yeah, I totally use that.
Yeah. And it's quick. So, you know, if it's raining outside, you still jump in it, you're dry. When it's cold, you're warm. When it's hot, air flows through it, so you stay cool.
Yep.
They have a new hammock now actually that is that has a sleeping pad with insulation, and it's a canopy. It's a whole tent thing situation.
So they've just made the swag swing from a tree. That's pretty much what they've done.
Yeah.
They've made the swag off the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like hammocks. I sleep so good in those things.
Yeah, it's
know
definitely
why.
nice.
I think it's the gentle swaying when there's wind at night too. That
Is that because it feels like you're back in your mother's womb? It's like, ooh,
yeah,
this is comfort.
or on the crib
Yes.
or in the swinger or something.
Yeah.
I feel safe. I feel safe. Do you get into the fetal position and go, oh, yeah, this is good?
I can't move very much when I'm in a hammock.
Why is that? Because you're going to fall the fuck out.
Well, yeah, because I'm so fucking fat. The thing just bows down.
Yep.
Hang on.
In-
Does the hammock
in
bow
Gulf-
down or is it the trees?
It might be both. Shit.
Is it like that? Like the cartoons in the island when he gets in the hammock, the palm trees go.
Man, I gotta stop using fucking saplings.
There was one year at the Rubicon, Tim had one of those inflatable deals. It was like an inflatable dome type thing that he was camping in, and it was actually kind of cool. I know, like
Please
that
tell
stuff
me
that
you
was
put
at
that in the
SEMA,
water.
those seats and chairs and stuff, and they even that it's almost like a bed capper that was pneumatic, that was air filled. Those things were pretty cool that they had, and then their stuff's pretty indestructible. Those at least had structure. Tim's didn't have structure. And he's like, man, if we have, because he had one of our racks on his Gladiator. He's like, well, could you make like outriggers so like set up there when we blow it up? I was like, well, we could make a piece up there, but it's going to be heavy unless we play with like UD carbon, and then you're going to be exponential on numbers even more so again. I mean, we can do it, but
By that stage, you might as well just take a camper trailer with you.
yeah, I'll just bring a Paris Dakar car with us. You know, Robbie's Dakar car, and then you got whatever you want. You know what I mean? But it's just ridiculous. You know, what are you going to do? So, yeah, there's a balance there for sure. But yeah, not to get off topic of getting eaten by a bear, but yeah. So
When was the last time you actually did rock crawling?
Myself, ooh.
when you had the JK?
Yeah. Last time I was at Moab, which was probably a couple of years ago. 3 now, probably. We go out to, there's an event out here, and if you, I don't know if you've been out to it or not, but the one at Loretta Lynn's, it's out here at the ranch. Anthony, her grandson, puts that on, runs it. He runs the park and everything now too, and does everything. And it's becoming a good event, actually, a very good event.
Did we go to the first one?
I think you were there. I think that was like the second or third one, actually.
Yeah, the 2019.
So it was when because we went before we ever even moved. I think we went to 18 or 17 we went. I think it was the first one. But it's pretty cool, and the trails are getting harder and better and harder, and there's stuff that's there that's not accessible, if you will, so during those times. But, yeah, there's some pretty cool stuff there. So
that show's coming up now, isn't it? Isn't that June?
It's in the somewhere in there, into June or something like that. So I don't pay attention to the calendar. Well, I try not to pay it. My goal in life would be have no idea what day it is or what time it is if I had my choice.
I would
so
like that too.
Jill runs all that side of it. So I just go where she tells me when I need to be there. So
that ranch isn't too far from you, is it?
No, not at all. Just a little bit west. So
okay.
just straight west. So it's not far at all. So yeah, it's close.
I'm sort of Nashville, because when I came to your place, my bearings were all out of whack. Because I'm still, sometimes they still are, but I'm getting better. Are you
used to being upside down, being from under the equator, you're upside down all the time. So this right side up thing's got you all messed up.
Yeah, it is. Where I think I'm going north, I'm actually going south.
That's right. It's all backwards.
It's like, God. Because every time I'd go to California, I'd go, yep, I'm going out east. No, yeah, I am. No, you're going west.
From Australia, it's east.
Yeah.
Hey, Brian, you should hear him do a Celsius to Fahrenheit calculation conversion in his head. It's amazing.
Yeah.
No. Yeah, I forgot what I was going to say. Damn.
9/5 times 30 plus 32 or minus 32. 5/9 plus 32, whatever it is.
I still have to Google it.
Yeah, I do.
To answer your question, Chris, they're about an hour west of Nashville.
Yeah, that's where we are.
That's what I was asking.
Yeah, an hour west. An hour straight west. That's where you were going. I knew where you were going, too. I was just trying to beat around the bush.
I just forgot. It was just like...
Yeah, going.
It went.
Oh, no, he's going.
Yeah, about an hour west.
Yeah,
so that means you're closer to me now. Because I came from Georgia last time. Yeah, I came from Georgia last time.
Yeah, if you're in Alabama, that's not too far. So.
Yeah, Huntsville.
Yeah, Dixon is south of us, and Clarksville is straight north of us. We're right kind of in the middle. So if you're military and you know where Fort Campbell's at, we're south of there, straight south of Fort Campbell.
No.
So,
And I can't imagine all those old barns along that road to your place are still standing after that last windstorm.
There's the one that's right down there by the end of the driveway. That one's now coming apart. So, and he doesn't want it. So, Cale's been going down there and doing dismantling and all kinds of stuff. It's come apart, and it's pretty interesting. We talked to there's a section of property out here on the road into us, I guess, if you will. There's 328 acres for sale, and her family had owned it since whatever. But her great granddaughter would bring her out here, and the hill that's like from us going up, heading north and a little bit east, that on that side of that road, she talked about when she was a little girl, she used to walk up that hill, and there was a one-room schoolhouse up here on the top of the hill.
Wow.
And people, when they built that barn, people came from like all over the place because it was one of the biggest barns anywhere around. And it's pretty crazy. And now it's kind of just coming apart, So, but there's still a lot of tobacco barns around here too. So they still dry tobacco and do that, but the numbers just aren't in it. And I think I don't know what actually the numbers were per se for tobacco, but when we first got here, it was like everybody told us like these barns aren't on fire; they're drying tobacco. But they get fire calls at the fire station. Oh my God, there's a barn on fire! No, it's not on fire. It's just they're drying tobacco. Mm-hmm. So they take sawdust and burn it, and it dries it and does all this stuff. But the market's just not where it was. But
at one point, it kind of changed over from tobacco to hemp. And
they were wanting to do that here, and I don't know that it ever took off or got going or whatever.
It did a little bit, but now there's legislation in Tennessee that they're trying to outlaw any sort of cultivation of hemp.
Oh, gotcha. Huh? I'll be darned. So, yeah, I don't know. So, yeah, we have
there's a lot of hemp growers in Clarksville.
Is it really? I got you.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Huh. I'll be darned. Gotcha. Yeah, we've just got everything that we've got is just pasture for cattle. So, but yeah, no, we haven't gone that side of ag as of yet. So, and we don't. I didn't realize how flat Indiana was, where we were on the west side of Indiana, straight west of Indiana or Indianapolis, right there by Illinois. But it's flat up there. And when I say flat, I mean like it's ridiculous flat. I didn't know it. Didn't notice it as a kid, but here, like say when you're shooting and doing stuff, the longest shot I can get right here is like 458 yards. That's it. With like 57-foot elevation drop. That's it. I can't go any farther than that. There's nothing any farther than that. So it's too hilly. So it's definitely different. So at home I had 1,000 yards at the house when I was a kid growing up. So it was not wasn't a big deal. But
1,000 yards. You don't want to trust me with a 1,000-yard shot. I think I'm probably at my limits at around 400 yards. 1,000 yards.
It's like everything else. When you were young, 50 yards was a long way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you just learn, and it's just a learned trait. You know what I mean? That's what my dad was very, very, very good at. Extreme long distances. So yeah, and I grew up doing that, I guess. So I just didn't think about it. So it just
if I'm shooting at paper, I'll do it. But if it's to harvest a deer, I'm not taking that shot.
I wouldn't either. It's just not. Depends on what you're using, I guess, and what you're trying to do. But whatever I'm going to use to go that far is not going to be.
It's not going to be pretty.
There's not going to be a lot left. I mean, there's going to be left, but you know what I mean. It's going to cause more damage than it needs to be. Yeah. So it doesn't need it. So, but yeah, it's different. But we love Tennessee, though, man. I love this state. It's phenomenal.
Me too.
There's nothing. I have nothing that I've been like, oh man, I don't know why they're doing this. I love Tennessee. So
I'm trying to talk Chris into moving here, but he's got this family thing that he has to worry about, and he won't do it.
Dude, the only other place I'll move to is Utah.
Yeah,
I'm
not far off right there with you. I'd love to live right there, not too far from you, Armando. I'd go out there in a heartbeat too.
Yep, St. George is where I'll end up.
It's not so great. I'll move to Tennessee.
Come on.
Yeah,
I love the desert. My wife is not going out there, and our whole family's right here. So, trying to get my mom and dad to move down here now, but I don't think they're ever going to leave Indiana. So it's just fine. It's not that far now. So, but yeah, I love the desert. No problem. I love it.
Yep.
So
I love the desert, but it'd be nice to be in a change.
Well, I don't mind the desert,
and I love the East so much. Like
Tennessee's a good
Southeast
mix.
Yeah, I feel like
it's
Tennessee
not desert
I'd be
by
good.
any way, but
yeah,
Tennessee's
but
fine.
I'd be good. I'm not going to get a lot of snow.
No banjos playing.
You get some humidity.
violins.
I don't care about the banjos. I don't care about that. But no, you're close to kind of everything. You get down to Florida, get down to the Keys, get down anywhere pretty quickly. Get out to Georgia, down to Riviera, out to New Orleans. So you kind of like
there's no need to go to
centralize
Keys. You don't have to worry about going to the Keys.
Yes, I do.
It's boring.
It's good to go to the Keys.
I love going.
It's
to
a good
the
place.
Keys.
It's a good place. So
I heard the fishing's pretty good.
The fishing is what I want to go to the Keys.
That's where I come that
yeah.
way. No, I'm just kidding.
Fishing, yes. That's about it.
That is a buddy of mine from the motorsport side of the world. That is a true carbon fiber sailfish.
That's crazy.
He made it, did the logo on it. He's a sign painter dude, did all of it, but it weighs nothing. It's like literally that thing is like 2.5 pounds. And it's real carbon. It's not the other stuff.
The fiberglass carbon.
Yeah, fiberglass with one outside layer on it. No, this is like 21 thou, one layer over a mold. So yeah, it's super, super thin, but it's strong as strong could get. But yeah, Tennessee's a good place. I definitely we fit in here and it works. So neighbors around here are great and everything's good. It's just all good. So we got lucky again. So been blessed my whole life, and like I say, lucky, blessed, good, vice versa, whatever. It's just been good. So I have no complaints. So
you hunting turkey and deer on your property also?
Not yet. So we have deer here that
turkey.
are unreal. Turkey is ridiculous. Like you can
I saw like 30 of them driving up to your place.
Yeah, you can go out. If I left here at 6:15 in the morning and head towards Dixon, the first field that's up here on the right, there's going to be 50 plus turkey in it. And out here in the yard, we had a deer almost in the shop yesterday. They were right here out the big back door towards the woods. And they were out there just walking around, and the one walked up, and he was like 10 feet from the concrete, from the overhang. He was right there. And they're like, we're not a threat to him. And if it came time where it was not such a good time, well, then we start eating them. We'll eat our cattle probably first, not all of them, of course, but yeah. There's a lot of wildlife around here. Lots.
I will lease some of your property to hunt whitetail if I could.
We've got.
I don't have a place right now, and I've been going to Matt Loxley's dad's house.
Oh, yeah.
He's got a huge piece of property up Clarksville.
Yeah,
and he's got a couple of stands already set up. So we've been going there, but last time I went, just didn't see anything. Yeah.
If I want to shoot a deer, I could literally walk out the front door pretty much in the morning, and it's whatever you want. It's right there. So there's a lot of wildlife around here. So yeah,
we'll have to talk next season.
Yeah. We haven't had anybody out here as of yet doing. My neighbor around the corner here, this is Murphy Hollow Road, and they are Murphys. So, and there's a grocery store in Charlotte that's a Murphy grocery store. It's a prominent name here, but they're adjacent property. We don't share a property line over on the other side with them. And he hunts his garage that's over there. He's got it's almost like the duck thing on the dash to full circle. His garage literally looks like deer heads inside. There's nothing but deer heads inside that.
Nice.
And just every year since he's been hunting, they're all hanging on the walls, and his sons and everybody else that hunts over there. And there's still tons and tons of deer, and they're still coming on. So, but yeah. Yep.
There's so much deer in this area, even where I live, but I'm in a subdivision, so I can't shoot. I mean, I can and I have, but I'm not supposed to.
Yeah. Well, then nobody knows, but that's still, you're really doing illegal things, and you're not supposed to do that. That's not allowed. So, yeah.
Well, the first time I did that,
and I never did.
I just wanted to see what the 300 blackout suppressed with subsonic sounded like, because I mean, I just got the can. I've heard it before, but it wasn't my can. I want to hear it from my can.
You want your own signature. Yeah.
So I went to the side of my house, and there's a retention pond, and I shot in the retention pond. Mm-hmm. And the ricochet from the bullet was louder than the actual shot.
Yeah. 300 blackout's good for that. So,
it's a fun caliber, just because I think it's the best home defense caliber, to be honest with you.
I'd agree. So
especially suppressed.
Yes.
Especially suppressed?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're not hurting your ears, anyone else in the house.
I shot the burglar, but I didn't wake up the kids, man. They still go to school on time tomorrow. We're good. Yeah.
The damn sirens woke the kids up.
Yes. And I will throw that out there. So
who's calling the police?
We haven't really made this a public thing as of yet, and some of you guys probably know, or we've talked about it a little bit, but we've always played in the gun world, doing all kinds of everything in the world, doing anything and everything for police departments and for military guys and for whatever. Always played because of the machine shop, so you can make things. And we don't make anything that you're not supposed to make, period. I mean, we don't do that. You can. It's not that hard to do, but we don't do that. There's no reason to do that. But we, very shortly here, we will have a sister company, if you will. Primal Weapons Works is coming. And the website will be, it's not live yet. We have not turned it on, but it's pww2a.com. I'm surprised that domain was still available. I figured anything that had 2A in it was gone, or five digits or whatever you want to call it was long gone, but we looked it up and there it was. So the stuff that we used to do, if you used to see CMM stuff, Carolina Metal Masters a long time ago, the Keltec KSG parts and the Chris Vector parts and the these and those and some muzzle devices and some other stuff, that stuff will all come back on. That'll be live first. And then I've got other stuff that we've been making since then that will go on, and then we'll see where that goes. And we made a decision way back then. It's like, well, let's see what kind of goes. because I was making gun stuff then, and still, threading barrels and doing action work on 700s and all kinds of stuff, whatever needed made. But we were doing stuff back then. It was like, well, let's see what kind of takes off. And the Jeep thing just kind of took off. So we just kind of let the gun thing kind of slide. And now we're going to go back and play. So look for that sometime. We'll probably let it cut loose after the Jeep Beach, I guess, just not to confuse issue and have chasing our tail both directions. But pww2a.com, Primal Weapons Works. The logo looks like two ancient axes crossed. But yeah, that'll be coming here pretty soon. So we'll start putting some stuff out.
Facebook page also?
Some things. Yeah, big Facebook page. No, I don't know what we're going to do really on that side of it. I know obviously our website on CMM is through Shopify, but that's not feasible with this side of things. So it's a big commerce website, and my brother-in-law is building that right now, and he's good at building websites. It's one of his talents. So he's putting it together, and we're getting it all tuned up and playing with it and make sure it works and clean and trying to get pictures right and do this and all the fun stuff. So we're playing with that.
Was that the gentleman? Now. Was that the gentleman I met when I was out there?
I think so. Probably was Eric. Okay. It probably was. So Jill's brother. So he's a couple years older than he is, or than she is. So I think he's a year older than I am. So, but yeah, thereabouts.
I was actually thinking about 3 days ago about shooting my guns. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same here.
I need to get that 338 out and start shooting that again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Here's what we need to do, Chris. Come up to my place, and then I'll drive us up to Brian's place.
Come out.
We'll do some shooting.
Go south, then go back east.
Why am I
when
going to
you hit the ocean,
east,
go north.
Yeah.
Turn left,
why am I going to go
ocean.
east to go west?
When you hit Canada,
north.
make another left. Go to the big lake, and then come straight south, and you'll hit us. So yeah.
When you get to Gulf of America, go north.
Yes.
Do you notice how Brian really sounds Australian when he talks?
Sometimes, like if I get around people, like I said, their team manager was Australian, so you start talking like that. Next thing you know, yes. There it goes. So
all those trips to Brisbane.
Doing it since went to we spent a lot of time on Gold Coast Indy Car racing. So it's awesome down there. I love it. I would love. I could see being down there. So $3.40, thanks. So yeah,
it's not so good anymore.
No, it's probably $7.80 or.
Did you try Vegemite when you were out there?
What's that?
Did you try Vegemite when you were out there?
Yeah.
What'd you think?
It's better than Marmite. So.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So being like the IndyCar side, there's engineers from everywhere. I mean, we got guys from France and England, and it's just a culmination. So you end up seeing and trying all kinds of stuff. And we raced Paris Dakar with Robbie. So all the stuff in North Africa, that was when it was not in South America like it is now. It was truly we started in Portugal and wound around, went across Straits of Gibraltar, into right there at the top piece of Africa, right through Monte Carlo, more or less, all that stuff, and then down through Morocco and Western Sahara and all that, and clear all the way down to Senegal to Dakar. But that was the hardest thing I've ever done. Period. Bar none.
I've heard Morocco is crazy, like as far as the old relics and everything else. We
come across where we were in the desert in Western Sahara. I think it was Western Sahara. I still have all my books, because I was on the chase truck. The chase truck, because Dakar is a little different. So like Baja, you got a whole bunch of chase trucks and a race car, and over there you have chase trucks. But then you also have, we had a Unimog, we were racing, but we weren't racing, we were a chase truck, because you can get there quicker being behind the fast cars, right? So being a chase truck. And it was a race car, but it was a chase truck. So we ran that thing, and it, some of the stuff, I had to get one of my old logbook stuff out and everything, road books and stuff, and go through that stuff and see. But we came across where they filmed some of the stuff for Star Wars, like the original Star Wars, 1977 Star Wars, the good one. So there's stuff where they filmed out there, and the stuff was still there. Like if it was here, it had been stolen in 1977 and a half, you know what I mean? Yep. And it's still there. It's all still there. Like when at the beginning, when the Jawas and all that stuff and R2 and C-3PO are in the desert, it's still there. It's a beautiful country. It's amazing out there, but it just, nobody's going to mess with that stuff. So, but yeah, it definitely was interesting doing that there. I'd like to do the one in South America. I know I can go down there. Sergio's invited me multiple times to go because they run through some of his uncle's property down there in Peru, and I'd love to go down there and see that, but I just have never had the chance. Been to Brazil a bunch of times, racing Rio de Janeiro and all that stuff down there, IndyCar wise. We went down there 3 different times for a test, and we never ended up. We were even running from Mauricio Gugelmin on the Hollywood cigarettes because Hollywood cigarettes is it's like the Marlboro of Brazil. So we went down there to do a test at that track and never even ran, flew ultralights and played around, did all kinds of stuff, and came back home. Couldn't get the car through customs. And then, been down there a bunch, but not that other side of South America. I'd love to go over there and check that out, all that side of that, so and see that.
So
someday.
Do you feel like you've had a boring life now, Gabe, when you talk to Brian?
Well, yeah, because he's a world traveler.
Yeah.
I'm not.
I know, but every time I
You're
talk
just
to
a
Brian,
complete unknown. You're just a complete
he comes
unknown.
up with a story,
I'm a
and
no-no.
I'm just like, "Yep, I'm a no. I've done nothing in my life again." Thanks,
Yeah.
Brian.
We've had fun.
Yeah.
It's been a good trip. You learn a lot. That's a cool thing. You just the stuff you end up picking up from seeing how somebody else does it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
You just, and that's what, like I say, that to jump back to that other piece, like when Will called with that deal with the shifter, he's like, "Man, you think you can make something?" I'm like, "Oh, yeah, challenge. Let's see what we can make. Let's make something. So let's create something that doesn't exist." I love doing that. So if we can, and people come up with ideas all the time. Sometimes they're
not very good.
crazy, and sometimes you're like, "Ooh, I don't know. Let's see if we can make this. Let's try this." So all the good ones start on a napkin. All the good ones start on a napkin when we're eating lunch. You're eating lunch, that's where the handles came from for the JKs. That's where the mirrors came from. That's where the breakaway mirrors came from. Before I drew that wave spline that's inside that thing, I was like, how can we do this? So we're at the Mexican restaurant here, and I'm got an ink pen. I'm noodling around on a napkin. I was like, yep, here's my print. Back to the shop. Here we go. So, yeah, that's the way to do it. So, but,
well, we won't keep you any longer. Really appreciate you coming on with us. Really quick, what's the website for everyone?
CMMOffroad.com. So
awesome.
Come and check us out. So it's we're a very small organization. People call and say, "Well, I talked to somebody else last time." Well, probably didn't. There's
me or the wife.
There's me. 1, 2, 3, 4 of us here. So is what we have.
And 2 dogs.
And 2 dogs. So that's it. There's not a lot of us. I have 5 employees out there that do not talk back. They just, you turn them on and they run. So it's a nice thing about CNC
the best
machine.
ones.
And I've threatened my son that I'll replace him with a robot. I tell you what, though, a lot of guys are doing that. Like, got guys back in North Carolina that it's hard to find good people. And not say anything bad about the new generation because there's some really switched on kids out there.
It's hard to find anybody.
It's hard to find people that give a shit and who put their head down and they'll work. And when you do, you hang on to them. And it's just hard to find. But it's robots. I got a buddy that was at Waltrip with me that took over my spot when I went to the Formula One deal at Waltrip. And he is now working for a company that does sell robots on the CNC side. And he's like, man, companies are CNC machine shops in North Carolina are buying robots hand over fist because you get one really good guy and he can run 10 machines with a robot. And I know, like, just talking to Mike at Factory 55, when he, the machine shop he's got out there that he had out there, when he first saw the robot, it was on a Haas machine, it was on a VF, I think it was a VF2 or a VF4, but it was making the ultra hooks. And it'd grab the part, set it on a little fixture, locate it, put it inside, come back out, the door would close, make the part, it'd reach in, grab it, set it down, it'd stage it so it could get its orientation, put it back in, do side 2. Mike's like, oh my God, that thing is so slow. You know, if you talk to Mike, so Mike talking, but he goes, it's so slow. Well, guess what? It doesn't ever take a smoke break. It doesn't take lunch, and it works from the time we flip the switch on in the morning until we go home at night. Or if you want it to keep running, it just keeps running, and it'll tell me when something's up. So
that was Mike to a T. I'll give you that one.
Mike, man, some of the stuff of Mike over the years, dude, I love that guy. We are as polar opposite politically and anything else. We're not gonna get into that stuff, but we are totally opposite as you could get on that side. But man, Mike he's a brilliant engineer, and the stuff he makes is just phenomenal. So love Mike to death. But But he has definitely had some funny quotes over the years of stuff. The best one, we were looking at a vehicle at Moab, and he's like, and what's this? And wait a minute, and what's your guy's name? What? That's never going to work. Just Mike just being Mike. So he is so much fun to be around. And you never know what he's going to say either. It just comes up. It's so much fun. But yeah, so. But no, it was great being on with you guys. And if there's anything, same as I always tell everybody, if there's anything we can help you with or make or do or chase up or whatever you need, hit us up. We'll figure it out.
We'll do.
So.
We'll still love my grab bar.
Good. I made one for a guy today. I said, I'd sent him the email, like, what font do you want? So, and he goes, just do the one you did when you made our last one. And I was like, So I get on, I look up, and it was 2017. We made one for his JK in 2017. He wanted exactly the same. He's got another one. He's got another JK, so he wants the same grab bar and the other JK. It's like, wow, holy cow. It's like, time sure goes by fast.
Yep. So everyone used to comment at the shows was, where'd you get the grab bar from? Because I would have always had my half doors on, so you'd always see it.
You'd see it, yeah. Yep. And I looked. I've had to divide them all up. I divide them up by years now, and we usually do like 160. I think last year we did like 187 or something when I looked today, grab bars customs. But it's just one of those things that you're not going to get a custom piece out of a shop from China. They can't do that. They can make parts, but they can't do that. So it's like doing stuff that's not normal, I guess. Screw loose or something's wrong. So we like doing stuff that's different. So, but keeps it fun. So, and there's nothing like a extremely satisfied customer when they come up at a show and they're like, "Oh man, come here, check it out. I got to put in." And you go over and you see what. Yeah, man, that looks awesome, dude. That looks good. Glad you're proud of it. So we were when we sent it out. So I'm glad you were. So yep,
that's it.
American made.
Cool. American made. You know it.
Yes. Yep.
And we are strive to make get everything that we can from here that we can. So, and right now, most all of our aluminum is coming from right here. So, what is made here? So, the companies that do make. So, it's going to get tricky, but we'll make it through.
You'll make it happen.
Yeah.
Yep, one way or another.
All right.
Very good.
Everyone, that's Brian Williams with CMM Offroad.
Thank you.
Everything's manufactured right here in America. Remember, that's one of our major things with this show. We definitely support American-made products. So check them out.
Appreciate that. So
no problem.
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, thanks again, and everyone, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time.
See ya.
Very good.
Hey,
Have a good night, guys.